All right, it's showtime, is what my program here told me for this scheduled live. Welcome back to my channel. My name is elenakovrigin. I am with ℂ𝕠𝕟𝕟𝕼 Realty, powered by eXp Realty here in Asheville, North Carolina. And today I wanted to talk about investor scams in Asheville and basically want to warn you about all those beware of investor alerts that you might see popping up in the area. If you just joining, if anybody who is just joining, please say hi in the comments. Say where you're joining from, which town, city, state, maybe a different country. I don't know. Say hi in the comments and just tell me where you're joining from. It's so good to connect with everyone this way while I'm live. And also bring your questions about this topic and anything else you might want to talk about. All right, so you might not think about that this is a full-blown scam, okay? Or you might think, well, what's the big deal? But if you were to get into a situation like that I'm going to describe, and you will start losing money as an investor, doesn't matter, big investor, small investor, especially if you're not very savvy, or maybe you're just beginning, you're just starting or thinking about it, you will feel like you are being scammed. So what I want to talk particularly about today is investing in short-term rentals in the area. With so many changes seem to be coming our way to the Asheville area, Buncombe County in general, the whole Buncombe County, not just Asheville, but the whole Buncombe County is soon to be affected by the changes that are proposed to Buncombe County Planning Board, as well as what happened 2, 3, well, almost 4 years ago. So let me take you back. Again, if you're just joining, put in the comments where you're joining from, say hi. So when COVID hit, everyone was just basically staying at home. Nobody was traveling. Those who were traveling prepared or preferred to stay at Airbnb, short-term rentals, not be in hotels with everyone else. And I talked about it in other videos. And so short-term rentals really exploded during 2020, 2021, 2022 even. Big explosion. A lot of people used, especially while we were all on quarantine and while we were working remotely, kids did not have school. A lot of people, you know, could travel and traveled and did not want to stay in hotels. So Asheville being such a touristy place, such a tourist destination, a destination town, destination city that is also advertised heavily by our TDA, which stands for Tourism Development Authority, was a big attraction. And I mean, it's always been, but in those years, it was a big attraction. So short-term rentals were in huge demand, and everyone and their cousin and their mother decided to get into short-term rental business. And quickly there was an oversaturation of short-term rentals in the Asheville area. Hi everyone. If you're just joining, just put where you're joining from. Say hi in the comments. It's good to see you, and ask questions along the way or comments. All right, so the popularity of short-term rentals increased during COVID times, during quarantine, during pandemic. But as we all know, those were not your regular years. Those were not the years that, those were off years, so to speak. And I was telling people who were thinking about investing in short-term rentals, during COVID or right after, like the lockdowns stopped and, stuff like that. I was telling them, well, you can't really rely, first of all, on the numbers that those, whoever was selling short-term rental, and they were showing in 2021 or in 2020, we had this much revenue, this much income from short-term rental that we are selling now. you can't really rely on those numbers because we're not going to have that anytime soon, hopefully. I mean, I hope, right? Those were off years for the industry. Those were not normal years. And you have to, most likely your numbers will be lower. And sure enough, all these people rushed into buying all these short-term rentals, more, not existent, but all these houses that could be used as short-term rentals. The market got oversaturated. Half of these people, first of all, paid premium, were over asking price just to get that property, because those were the years everyone was bidding left and right. Bidding wars were just, normal day. That's what we did for lunch, bidding war. And they paid over asking. They didn't even really look at the numbers. Some people, they thought that they were going to do it themselves because, somebody they know, or somebody they know are doing short-term rentals just fine, and they're making all the money, and so why not, I'm going to do it myself, which is fine. Some people are more successful with that than others. But a lot of people also did not realize how much it would take to run a successful short-term rental, how much it would take to compete with a ton of other short-term rentals in the area. I mean, there are some neighborhoods that have a ton of short-term rentals. There are some neighborhoods, in fact, that mostly have, they were built to be short-term rentals. So you have to compete with all your neighbors and a ton of other people. And so, a lot of people, again, did not see the return that they expected, or maybe the agent or they imagined that they would have. Because again, it takes a lot more to run a short-term rental, a successful short-term rental, than you might think, or anybody might think. It takes a lot of also effort and to stand out in the sea of the same short-term rentals around, and a lot of people were not willing to do that. It takes nice furnishings to stand out so that you can get some reviews, good reviews. It needs to be clean, all those little things that go into it. And so these people paid premium. They did not see the return on the money. They were discouraged. Maybe they were like, okay, well, that's not working out as well as we thought it was going to be. Now, I see a ton of short-term rentals on the market that are for sale. And they are advertised as a successful short-term rental. They are advertised in the, sometimes they do provide right away the rental income or not. I have to sometimes dig around and ask the listing agent to provide it. But when you start looking at the numbers, they make 0 sense. If you are, even if you're not a savvy investor, even if you do not know anything about investing in things like short-term rentals or investing in long-term rental, does not matter, in an investment property, your agent at a minimum either should be able to tell you and guide you, or find somebody, a vendor, a short-term rental manager, property manager, who can guide you through the process, who can explain you all the ins and outs, what's going into it, how much it's going to cost, and how much you can expect to get out of this particular property if you do this, that, and the other. And there's, like, again, there's a lot of things that go into it, into running a successful short-term rental. And these days, like I said, there's a ton of short-term rentals on the market that are for sale. First of all, they, again, paid premium. They overpaid for it 2-3 years ago. Some people bought it a year ago, a year and a half ago, and now they to make it more, financial sense, they have to, and they are selling it for higher than what they paid, because otherwise by the time they pay broker fees and closing costs and all that, they're going to be negative. And the numbers, again, make 0 sense if you or your agent, if you know nothing about it, start looking into it. I see more people joining in. If you just join in, please put in the comments where you're joining from. You can just put a state or, I don't know, town, city, maybe country. Say hi. It's always great to connect with everyone and bring your questions about investment opportunities and short-term rentals in particular in the Asheville area. And so when I look at some of the listings, again, makes zero sense. They are run by some very well-known property management companies here in the area, and honestly, I don't know how they even thought it would be a good idea. According to our property manager that we personally use, you know, we ran it ourselves. My husband did for like about a year, and then it was taking a lot of time and effort and just a lot of things that go into it. We finally gave it to the property manager. Yes, it costs money, but in reality, if you are running it as a business, if you treating it as a business, that's the cost to run business. And a good property manager can make you money, will not lose you money. And that's what our property manager is doing right now. He's paying for himself, and we are not spending any time of our time running those properties that we have. And time is even more important and priceless than money, because you can make more money, you cannot make up more time, right? And so according to our property manager, and it might be, let me know if you agree or disagree with this, but that's what he said. For every $500,000 property or price range, you want to make $80,000 in gross revenue a year out of that short-term rental. So $80,000 sounds like maybe a lot to some people, but it all depends on the house, right? It all depends on the house. Also consider this and keep in mind that $80,000 is just gross revenue. In reality, you will probably get 50, 55 because property management costs about 20%. That does not typically include cleaning fees. Cleaning fees, another, depending on the cleaner, the quality. I typically, just to be on the safe side and to be on the more, like really go on the lower range, I rather shoot lower and get more money than, overestimate. Anyways, I subtract 30%. So $80,000 minus 30%, what is it? Like $55,000. This is how much you should, at a minimum, expect to get out of every $500,000 that you invest in short-term rental. And again, it depends on the property. There are some properties here in the area in Buncombe County, outside of Buncombe County, that cost a lot more. $700,000. There's one on for sale right now for $699. They bought it for $690 like a year and a half ago, and they were trying to sell it for quite some time, and they're making $49,000 a year. And I don't see how much more they can make because it's only a 2-bedroom, 2-bath house. So you have to think how many people your property can sleep, right? When you're talking about a short-term rental. And that goes into, looking at in the number of bedrooms, of course. So when you're looking at a property that is only 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, big log house, very beautiful, and you pay $700,000, what do you think your return would be? How many people can you sleep? Not a lot. And people, it's properties that sleep at least 10, 15, 20 people that, make a lot more money, but they need to have a lot more bedrooms and bathrooms. So make it make sense. So these people who are trying to sell this property, again, they're not scammers, but if you were to buy this property and think that you were going to make good money, you sure will feel and think that you were scammed just because nobody advised you better. Again, to some people, it's not that obvious, but Again, that is why you are hiring a professional. Hopefully, you're hiring a professional to represent you, who knows what they do, who have experience, not necessarily personal experience, but personal is even better in short-term rentals, but also can, if not themselves, can guide you and connect you with a property manager, with a consultant who can walk you through the process and explain you the numbers, show you the numbers. So, and again, I see it a lot in this area where all these short-term rentals are kind of flooding the market, back on the market. People are trying to sell them, of course, for more because they think that they appreciate it so much more. They didn't. They didn't appreciate that much. Um, and numbers make sense even less. So just kind of be aware of that. Always look at the numbers. If in doubt, that's why you have your due diligence, if nothing else. If you already made an offer and, that's why you have your due diligence period. Do your research, do your due diligence, and don't fall for this scam. Another thing to consider is that, well, maybe right now it's not going to be that big of an issue, and it's really not clear what's going to happen. And again, I talked about it in my previous videos. Buncombe County Planning Board is proposing, and it seems like they are going to go through the proposed restrictions on short-term rentals in the whole county, not just Asheville, which, if you don't know, Asheville city limits, you cannot do short-term rentals. There are a few exclusions, some luxury condos in downtown. Of course, you can do homestay in city limits where you live in the house and you can Airbnb maybe like a room or basement or whatever, in-law suite, but you cannot do short-term rentals in city limits legally. Woodfin, the town of Woodfin, banned short-term rentals going forward. Everyone who's doing them right now are grandfathered in, but they cannot sell it and to somebody, and somebody else will not be able to continue do short-term rentals. So that's another thing. Watch out. Like if you're looking in Woodfin, if the taxes are paid to the city of Woodfin and you're trying to buy short-term rental off of somebody, from somebody, you will not be able to. It's going to be illegal. But now the whole Buncombe County is trying to push those restrictions across the board. And the restrictions include things like only allowing short-term rentals in commercial zoning and open use. No residential areas will be allowed to have short-term rentals moving forward. It looks like and it sounds like everyone who is doing short-term rentals right now will be able to continue doing them, but you will not be able to sell it, as a short-term rental and advertise it as a short-term rentals. So if this thing goes through, again, beware that if somebody's going to try to sell short-term rental, a successful short-term rental, and it might sound even like a good deal, if and when those restrictions go through, you most likely will not be able to to continue do short-term rental. So there's a lot of things to kind of that go into it. Another one is HOAs. There are a number of HOAs and associations that do allow short-term rentals or have been allowing short-term rentals, but I see, one by one, a lot of associations, a lot of neighborhoods start banning them because people, neighbors are just tired of having strangers drive through the neighborhood. They want that neighborhood feel, which I understand, So they start banning them. And that's what I tell people. It can change at any point, not just on HOA level, but on the town, city level, on the whole county level. They are saying that there was another example of something like this happening somewhere else in a different state. The whole county banned short-term rentals, and then they got sued and it got overturned. So who knows what's going to happen at this point? That's, we're just kind of in a holding pattern. We don't know. Even if they're going to sue and it's probably going to take time and people will lose money. So just be very careful if you're thinking about investing in short-term rental in the whole Buncombe County, not just Asheville. So if you have any questions about it, put them in the comments right now. This would be a good time. I don't see any comments. Put your comments. If you don't agree with anything that I said, if you have anything to add, please. If you are joining from somewhere else, put it in the comments. It's great to connect with everyone while I do these lives. Let me know if weekdays are better than Sundays, because I did a couple of these on a Sunday, and the first week I was competing with Super Bowl, so that was not a good idea to begin with. And then, I mean, Sunday, I get it. People are doing their things and family stuff, or maybe getting outside the house, outdoors and whatnot. But it seems like, I hope at least, is weekdays would be better to do those lives and connect with you. And bring your questions next time I'm doing this. I plan to do it, every week, every Wednesday. Today is Wednesday, right? Every Wednesday at about 7 p.m. Eastern time. So stay tuned and bring your questions. If you need any kind of help, anything from relocating to the Asheville area, our team specializes in relocation, but also in selling, buying in the Asheville area in Western North Carolina, as well as helping with investment properties. And you want somebody in your corner who would have your interests above their own, their own, even if it costs somebody a commission, a paycheck. To me personally, my relationship with my clients are more important than my commission, and so that's my philosophy. All right, if there are no questions or comments, I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna let you go back to your Wednesday night, have nice dinner. We are getting ready to go to and have some bedtime for our kids. And I will see you next time. Reach out if you have any questions.